Thank you, Sampa, for that energetic start and welcome everyone. A very good afternoon. On behalf of FairEdge, I welcome all of you on this series of multi-stakeholder experiences dialogue. In fact, we kicked off the series just last month on April 16th with a very sort of notable industry leader. And from there on, we've moved on to experience dialogues of the customer as a persona, the vendor experience, which took place last month. And then this week, we are focusing on the employee persona. And needless to say, our employees are at the center of impacting experiences for all other stakeholders. So FairEdge is honored to dedicate 3 days from today until Friday, same start time of 4 p.m. for the employee experience dialogues. And today, it's our privilege and our honor to welcome two very distinguished speakers, Mr. Anish Padinjaroote and Mr. Mohit Kumar, very transformative leaders. And what they share today will be, however, reflections in their individual capacity. But before we begin, we're excited to play a short video that paints their life journey and also defines who they are. So we hope you'll enjoy watching it as much as we did putting it together. So let's roll. Mohit, Anish, it's a privilege to have you. And with that, Mohit, over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Sukanya, for this generous introduction. And Anish, so nice to have a person like you over here for this dialogue.
Pleasure,
And,
pleasure, mine.
and we all understand the importance of dialogue. All the knowledge systems of our world, whether it be in India, Upanishads, or whether it be in the Greek, Aristotle's and Plato's work, it all emerged out of dialogue. That is, seeing a particular issue from different angles, the angle which is thesis, the angle which is antithesis, and the angle which is integrating the best of the both, the synthesis. So let's see what emerges towards. I'll be prompting you towards the different things on these experiences. So, on first of all, my own understanding of what is how we need to, why we need to, and how we need to reimagine the experiences. And I'll invite your inputs on that. Thanking Fairage at this moment for providing this platform to us, which is relevant for the people over here and all the community which is watching us. What is happening around the world? As we have grown, we have seen the massive explosion of technology. Starting from when we started the career, when I started the career, it was OHPs and all, and then came the emails, and then now we are dealing with massive explosion, artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, virtual reality, and so on. And whether it is enabling at one hand, on the other hand, it is also distracting. In the center of it is a person, the human being, and perhaps the way human beings are dealing with it is working on the inner technology, that is meditation, mindfulness, uh, conscious living, conscious leading. We'll discuss this. Yeah. And the way the experiences and the expectations around the experiences are changing. It is moving from transaction to transformation. I was having a discussion just before this thing with one of the leading coaches, and we were inviting the person for a workshop for us.
Mhm.
We wanted the person to give something to our people that they can go and work as change agents in the organization. And a very gentle reminder was that the authentic change leadership comes only after self work. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we have to self work. So he was polite enough to say that unless until there is self work, there is a self change, the self transformation, there is no claim to fame to for the team transformation or the organization transformation. It begins with me, the authenticity part of it, right? So that is where the world is moving towards, moving from ticking the boxes to the real experiences, right, which matter. Moving from the narrative to the actuality, right? We know in our heart, right? Uh, um, Along with the mind, the space for the heart. So, one small experiment we did for last 6 months, building OD capabilities in our young HR professionals using empathy circles. And then using the empathy circles, we did town halls with our people and just listening, taking a pause. It unleashed the emotional energy, elevating the entire workplace to the next level. Right? So that's the possibility for the heart to be in play along with the mind. Um, People are also looking forward to not just a living, they're looking for thriving. And thriving comes from the purpose and the values alignment. So they're looking for that sweet intersection. And that is where they're looking for the organization that is stand up for the purpose and the values that the human beings aspire for towards the collective growth. We see a lot of movement on ESG, conscious living, conscious leading, minimalism, and I see my own daughters also moving in that direction. That is, and the youngsters are actually choosing that path, right? Also, see a movement towards real inclusion from
Yeah,
the, again, not the tick box, not the technically right thing, everything done right, but still people not included, feeling included. It is about in every possible space, how am I conscious of my own uh, impact, whether it is inclusive or not inclusive. And it is not asking about have you contributed? It is about have I listened? Have I comprehended what others are saying? And do I have the willingness to
sure.
benefit from the others' views? So that's where some of the things that I was thinking. That is where the reimagining of the employee experiences is going from transaction to transformation towards purpose and meaning, towards trust and empowerment, towards belonging and inclusion, towards technology and experience creation design. Right. This is what the well-being and resilience, and from employee to um, entire stakeholder. That's a complete systemic view of experiences. That is, our partners are also part of those experiences. Our candidates are also part of those experiences. Community is part of those experiences, and that's a wonderful systemic view. And fortunately, Fairage is promoting that systemic view that what
Sure.
happens in one part of the system is definitely impacting the other part, the entire ecosystem. So that's how I'm seeing it. So before we get going with the prompts to you, I'd like to have your views on how is the world imagining or reimagining employee experiences. Over to you, Anish.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks a lot for that great intro. I think I don't have add anything I add because you have covered a lot of things around there. But let me just talk about employee experience, right? It's very important. I think most of the firms across the globe have some knack on customer experience, the so-called CX, right? But when it comes to employee experience, it's I particularly feel it's mostly taken granted for because because people feel that it is like in-house team. So the experience is not because they should understand whatever happens, and it's not an external team, right? It's like any family, right? Let's say in India or even globally also, it's true within our family, we usually take people for granted, right? But when we go out or an external party or something happens, when there is a outside people, we always give that extra, respect, extra love, extra support, and everything, right? We have seen that even in our houses also. When someone from outside comes, our parents say, "Hey, behave properly, dress properly." And even in our houses, you would see, right, when we drink water, we'll drink in steel glasses. When an outside person comes, suddenly a good glass or a porcelain glass will come out.
Yeah.
So I think employee experience starts rather than employee experience, I just say human experience starts from there. I think we need to think when we think about culture, we need to think about all this. Culture is not just a facade of in creating sameness in a group of people. It's also respecting diversity in that group of people and creating something meaningful for them, right? So with that, I'll just stop and see, what this whole dialogue. I mean, you put it very poetically in the beginning, right? The dialogue is how we grow. And one more quick fun fact is humans thrive through gossips, right? That's how human evolutions have always thrived. And
Yeah.
even in corporates, right? When we come and work, it's not just the work, it's also the social exposure, the social place where we get to rant if we want to rant or do anything possible, make best friends, and a lot of things happen in a work culture or a work environment, right? So it's very important topic that we are talking, and I'm very passionate about this topic, hence I'm looking forward.
So looking forward to gupshup with you and something masala gossip, right? So no, we often hear that a star performer losing motivation, right? Or scores are great, but still the trust is not there. The engagement scores are great, but still so I've been following your post, right? And I
Thank
saw
you.
that
Thank you.
post.
It means a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, because those are very appealing, very meaningful, and very sharp. So I thought, let me ask you more in detail from one of those posts. And one of that is you don't lose motivation, you lose trust. It's so powerful. What feels like depleted energy is actually broken faith in the system. Very powerful, Anish. Thanks for writing that. Uh, so it's when we don't walk the talk, when we're only talking technically right, but it's not landing. So
Yeah,
that is where the motivation. So over to you to your comments on this.
absolutely. Thanks for following me and saying those kind words. I basically write what I think, and what I think is what I've experienced also, right? So not as some HR leader or some person who has some years of experience in corporate, but a person who has gone through the life and who has lived through the journey, right? And this particular aspect, like you rightly said, right, that one coaching leader you were trying to bring to your organization, and he spoke about self motivation and everything. I basically believe motivation is very intrinsic, but trust has both extrinsic and intrinsic values, right? So I, I think that is very, very core wound for many employees in organization, right? Where they do many things, they contribute, but somehow they feel my contributions is not, reciprocated. My voices are not heard, right? That's where they completely lose the trust, and that's where that energy to create value depletes, because the faith in the system, right, the trust in the system is broken. It's not because of just one manager or some work. It's definitely not because of workload, right? All our people, I mean, at least I've seen 98% people are good human beings who want to add value. There's always 2%, surfers and everything, right? But we don't run business for that 2%, right? It is for this 98%. But the point is, if organizations do not consciously build work environments around this, trust will deplete very slowly, right? You will never even know. It will erode very, very slowly, but fatally, right? That has happened to many organizations, but before they realize, it's become too late, right? So it's very important to restore credibility, show that you are caring for every hire you make, every promotion you make, every conversation, performance conversation that you're having with your people, right? So it's more than performance. It's are you being present for that person, for that
Hmm.
human organization? Are you being present for him or her or they, whatever, right? And trying to see that you're getting the maximum for them and the organization from a value angle, right? If you don't do it, then this is what you get. No amount of surveys, I can tell you that no amount of surveys or feedback will help you solve that problem. Even if you use AI, it may show you a bit bigger problems, but it will never solve.
Well, thanks, Anish. Thanks. And the imagery which was coming to my mind that the ships take long time to sink after the hole is created. And that hole is the trust, actually. So it's important to notice when that trust is getting broken, when that hole is we can ignore it. एक ही hole तो है, चलता है, but चलता नहीं है. It has an impact. Right? So the credibility and authenticity in our conducts, individually and collectively, uh, takes takes the keep but keeps the ship moving at a great speed. Actually, all right.
Absolutely.
All right. This is a time, that dreaded period of the year where performance management is happening, and those conversations are happening where people sometimes feel elevated, sometimes they feel, why me? Yeah. Now in this century, in this era, do we still remain stuck with the conversations um, once a year, or do we move to the conversations once it matters, right? Dialogue, respect for each other, right? And the genuine interest for growth. So, your views on that, Anish?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is, I mean, since you said this is the time for performance and goals, it's also time for IT returns, right? So it's not do performance management like this IT returns, right? Once a year, we are all coming together, don't know where to click, what to click, how to save tax, then figure out for a tax rebate. That's not how we do performance management. I mean, that's how we've been doing, and we are still doing it.
Yeah,
It's a time to redesign
yeah,
what performance, and let's stop calling it performance management. I think it's basically, we always get to hear performance management is about evaluation and development, and only those two, right? And performance is not binary by nature, right?
yeah,
It's an enablement. How do you enable this human who has trusted you and is working with you to, get greater things for the client base or customer base that you're working? How do you make this human successful? That's the
right.
core. That's the core, right? And for that, you don't do it once a year, right? Don't show performance theater, right? Managers should be better coaches, right? If you're not coach, don't become a manager. Be as a, individual contributor and do whatever you want to do. But if you definitely want to be a manager and a leader, number one, be a coach. Number two, start being a feedback designer. Okay, this is some of the competencies which we never even talk from leadership angle, right? We just say, if you can control a team of whatever 10, 20, 30 people and get the productivity out, that's so archaic thinking, right? Like they say, right, in an economic model, it's all about creating money, and we can use resources to leverage it, but people are not resources, right? People are humans who are working there, putting their heart and brain, and creating some value for you. Have that value back to those people, and have those conversations when it matters, right? So at Fractal, I designed a program called EPR, which is Engagement Performance Review. It happens every 3 months, right? And not by the reporting manager, but by the person who they are working with, whoever is a project that they are working with, that manager. And I have made it so easy that it has only 5 questions on 5 different parameters, and they will have to answer those 5 questions, and then that goes to the reporting manager or whoever it is, right? And then it nudges that person to coach this person based on it, right? Whatever it is. So, I mean, that's a small program that we did, but that has become a big thing in Fractal, and it's kind of a colloquial language. But again, I'm not saying that that's the only path. There are multiple paths. I'll just stop by saying you need goals and performance discussions to breathe. You can't make it as a binding compliance engine, right? You have to make it breathable, open conversation engine where humans can thrive.
And very, very well said. Very well said. And as you said that managing or leading is a pious responsibility when we are touching the other human beings, and that requires self-work, being in touch with my own strengths and insecurities, and also the skill upgrading for me to, as you rightly said, design the feedback which is constructive and useful instead of landing as a power authority which is no use to anybody anymore. All right. So it's time for us to have a poll from the people. I'll request Sampa to open a poll.
I think it's there.
Yes, maybe no. Yeah. Hmm. All right. So we have yes, 20%, maybe 20%, no, 60%. And I understand the no part of it. We'll discuss.
Maybe is equivalent to no. Right?
Yeah,
I say this always, right? If you're not sure, the answer is always no. So maybe is not sure. So 80% are saying no.
yeah. Share results. Sampa, can we move on from the poll? Okay. So the no over here is also perhaps coming from, well, you have a process, you have a person, but on the other hand, the implementation of it is not in the spirit of it, perhaps, right? And that is where again that people lose faith. Then show me the faith, and I'll show you the policy. Not the other way around. Okay. So then employees resort to social media in the absence of educate avenues or the implementation of them in the true spirit. How do we enable our current systems and practices to enable employees to share both positive and negative feedback on an ongoing basis? Over to you, Anish.
So, you at least you would have seen a lot of employees talk about their firm more openly in the glass doors of the world or the fish bowls of the world, right? We need to understand why are they doing it. Again, like I said, right, our culture, everything starts from from how we grow up and everything. And if you think about it in our family, when kids grow up, after some age, they would stop talking to their parents, right? It's not because they don't trust their parents, right? They'll go talk to a friend or some other, group they are there, and that's how they go and talk, right? It's a similar kind of a reaction which happens in firms also, right? People basically went out in social medias where they feel that it is a psychologically safe place, number one, okay? Where they feel they'll not be judged, number two. Uh, they will also, in many places they'll be also okay to be non-anonymous. In some places people are non-anonymous and they just go ahead and
Yeah,
share.
we have many examples recently. Yeah.
Absolutely. So in an organization it is very important for us not to do just a lip service of saying our values are whatever, right, integrity, employee first and all those stuff, but start building the operating system for that, right, employee operating system for that matter, and think of feedback as a muscle to build that rather than event. Today what is happening is feedback is an event, right?
Mm,
एक साल में एक बार, once in a year, some big survey will come with some 40-50 questions. And,
right.
a lot of emails, nudges will go to employees. Please, we want to hear you. We want to hear you. Right? That'll not get you anything, right? As the only thing will get you is maybe you're like in top 100, top 1,000, whatever those badges, but it will not actually get you the voices that you want to hear, right? So most of those things, if you really need to hear, you need to start radically listen, right? So
Yeah.
that's number one, so important. You should start radically listen. Create a psychological safe space so that people can candidly talk, right? There's this book called Radical Candor, very good book. I've read it. But I also add to that book saying that before radical candor, you need radical listening, right? Without listening, you can't just say, okay, I'm radical candor, so I'll blurt out anything I want, right? That's not how it works. And number three is whatever we are listening. I've seen this in many organizations. It happens, right? They listen, take all the feedback. Then after that, what? Nothing. No action happens. Even if action happens, they don't talk about those actions, right? So the third thing is, once you get all that, make the actions visible so that the trust in the system builds up and people naturally gravitate to talk to the folks in the organization about their thoughts than going out in a social media platform and ranting about those things, right? So it's very important. We can't blame the employees or any people, right? It is how the system is now.
True. True. Yeah, well said, Anish. So that's psychologically safe space for dialogue, for different views to be discussed within the organization and the organization to benefit from that. So it's not only about having systems and processes. But the systems and processes help the intent. So having the intent to really include differing views. And
Absolutely.
that's where again the self-work becomes so very important that people are different and can I be evolved enough to leverage all the diversity and different views. Yeah. Okay. The integration will happen. There is a process for integration. Can that integration happen within the organization? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of different views. All right. So having access to people smarter than you is a blessing. It's not a threat. How do we deal with the insecurities making the workplace toxic? So it's like now sometimes we get into that vicious loop. I feel insecure, and we see it in the corporate life, right? And then I try to sideline, try to subjugate toxicity, and then there's a negative spiral. That is, no, the Peter Singer says, right? That is the vicious cycle. So uh, how do we deal with that? It's a reality of the corporate life, right? So how do we deal with that toxicity arising out of insecurities?
Again, right, we are all from our school, colleges, everything, we have all been taught to consume, we are all been taught to compete, uh, which is much different from what happens in a work life, right? Where you need to create, collaborate more than consuming and competing, right? So that's the play which we are seeing here. And I would also say, insecurity unchecked is hierarchy, basically. And
So,
and and that hierarchy, when that hierarchy in organizations, if that gets weaponized, which most of the organization does it, uh, that will kill collaboration, that will kill creation, that will only create conformity, which will not help the person or the organization for that matter, right? So it's very important to create a culture of contribution, a culture of boundaryless behavior, than a culture of control and a culture of compliance. So think of systems which basically incentivize collective excellence, not individual dominance, right? So if that is there, and if it is okay to say I don't know, if it is okay to fail, if you do all that, and leaders basically have the courage to stand up for their team and stand up for whoever they're working with without competing, but contributing and making them grow, that's the only thing which will work.
yeah. And again, that pause, listening,
Yeah, yeah,
reflection, self work becomes perhaps even more important to realize that there's a toxicity which is being created
absolutely.
unconsciously or consciously, and it is not going to help anybody. So self work again becomes that very important. Uh, there's a lot of technology bombardment, information bombardment, expectation to keep pace, right? The chat GPT 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, and then I see the post of Anish using all the artificial intelligence, which are much better and much faster than mine, Anish, that creates pressure, right? That's- so uh, then I resort to, okay, it's fine, let me get centered, meditation, heartfulness, mindfulness, right? Let me work on the inner technology while somebody else is working on the external technology. And then I realized that perhaps the sweet spot is in the middle somewhere, right? Leveraging the possibilities in the big bang explosion of technology outside and big bang explosion of the possibilities within. Just wanted your views. How are you manage uh, this sweet spot?
Sure, sure. So I know there's a lot of noise in the world today, right? And you can't fight noise with your own noise,
Yeah.
internal noise, I mean, right? So I think two things which at least I personally do is, number one is self-awareness is very, very, very important. So the AI for human internal self-awareness is what I call, I think it's a very well-known concept called appreciative inquiry.
Yep. Yep.
So if you do that appreciative inquiry to yourself, and have that clarity of thought, and use AI as a partner, as a sparring partner, than as a truth-speaking machine, right? Many people use AI and they're just copy pasting what they get from there. That will just make them dumb and irrelevant very soon. So don't do that, right? Use AI as a sparring partner, question it and fine tune your thoughts. If you want to fine tune your thoughts, first you have to be clear with your thoughts. That's where this internal AI, right, which is appreciative inquiry, is very important for self-awareness.
Oh, amazing. So this is wonderful. That is using appreciative inquiry on self actually, right? We use it for systems, but we don't normally
Yeah.
use it. I have not done that, perhaps. I will do that. And also encourage
Actually,
others.
I trust me, it's much better than meditation.
Yeah,
Just sit in a quiet place and just ask
yeah.
yourself questions.
I've seen the impact of appreciative inquiry in the workshops for the system. Why not for self actually? Yeah. Uh, we discussed about that we are now in an integrated system. So employee experiences also create the experiences for other stakeholders, partners, customers, vendors, community, yeah, and so on, the investors. So how do we uh, create heightened employee experience in the world of today so that the entire system is energized with respect to the heightened experience for all in that system actually? And that is where our crux of our dialogue is, that is reimagining the stakeholder experiences through employee experiences. Over to you, Anish.
No, that's a fantastic question and a great question. And I know Fairage is doing some parts of it, which is brilliant. And particularly on employee experience, let me put it this way, right? You cannot pour from an empty cup.
Ah, lovely.
So if you don't have a great employee experience, if your employees do not feel seen, if they don't feel heard or inspired or supported, they're not going to give their best. And if they're not giving their best, your clients are not getting the best, your partners are not getting the best, your vendors not get the candidate to hire are not going to get the best, right? So it's very important to focus on employee experience, to 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 change the surveillance kind of a culture to trust-based culture, right? I mean, today in any organization, if I just want to apply a leave, I'll have to go through multiple approvals. My
Hmm.
manager से पूछना है, वो करना है, ये करना है. If I want to just I spend something for some client visit, for that I need to get 101 approvals with all those bills submitted. And why are we doing it? It's not like our people will take us for granted. Yeah, build a system for trust. Don't build a system to surveillance, or control from that matter. So one thing which I would leave a thought with everyone who's listening or who may listen to this in future. I worked out something called MAP, a plan called MAP. If anyone is interested, reach out to me in LinkedIn. I'll talk more about it. It basically means building an employee experience ecosystem based on meaning, autonomy, and pleasure. Right? These are the three aspects which we need to. That's called, I call it MAP. So if we build
Ah,
things around that, uh, the entire stakeholder ecosystem will be much, much more, I would say, happier.
wonderful. Map. Yeah.
Right.
Listening to you gives me a lot of, and that gives me one line of the Bollywood, right? वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी. Right? All right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Anish, one of your posts which gave the people model, right? And over there, I saw the people from the academia, from the industry, including Dave Ulrich, also commenting on that. It's like uh, David is coming and doing the dialogue over there on the post, right? That's amazing. So why not let's benefit from your thought process around your people model, Anish.
Sure. Thanks for bringing this up, and I'm very grateful. David also, came and commented and had a dialogue with me on that. And I've been a big fan of David Ulrich and followed his models and everything. But currently, I think it is time to reimagine and rethink, and which I've spoken to him also directly, saying that it's a 30-year-old model. It's time to think a
I've
bit
been
more different.
inspired myself by that HR scorecard and employee.
Yeah. So
It's
hence
time to do that.
I was looking for elsewhere. I couldn't find anything, so I thought I'll create it myself. So this is a people model which I created myself, which is basically based on few aspects of people delivery, but working as one team, right? And the basic philosophy around this is everyone will start adding more value or contribute more if their priority is clear. And I'm saying priority, right? Because priority is singular. Priority is not plural. Even if you go to dictionary and see, there's only priority. It is by definition singular. But we all conveniently say, oh, I have 10 priorities. I mean, then it is not priority, right? It's a general list. So with that as a base, I wanted to create it. So I created a framework where we have a team called People Advisory, where their only job is to make a manager a better leader. Because if we have if we have better leaders, they'll create better small ecosystems of great places to work, and the employees or people who are working there will definitely manifest into better folks who deliver a lot. And if they deliver a lot, the client, of course, the client delight will come in place. The company will also do good, right? So people advisory, the current HRBP model is the HRBP basically does everything, right? From from exit interview till interviewing people, and a lot of other things, pushing papers, making sure performance management done, making sure people respond to survey. I don't know what all an HRBP is doing nowadays, right? And it's just a paper pushing job, no values added. But I'm saying if your people advisor, your only job is to make manager a better leader, take all the data you want. So I've said hire a data scientist and everything, but just make sure that that manager becomes a better leader. One. Second is people growth, where I said your only aim is to build systems or operating system where you're basically incentivizing both individual brilliance and collective excellence, right? Both. And build something for the organization. That is people growth. And there's a people experience team, where the only priority for them is to how do I build consumer grade experience for my employees. When we are building it for our customers and clients who are paying us money, we should do the same where who we are paying money to get the work done, right? So that's the only thing. And then people ops team, which basically does all that thing, use of AI and everything will be there to help them build a great infrastructure of people data. So if we have this team come together and work, I've seen that work in the place which I'm doing, and it basically creates magic.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. That's very comprehensive. And especially when we are designing experiences for our customers, why not begin at home? Right. So I like that. We'll come back on this some other day, a detailed discussion only on this people model, actually. We have some questions from the audience as well, and it's time that I represent them to you, right, Anish? So, are we considering the first one is, are we considering employee needs at the design stage itself? In fact, the younger generation wants to be heard more, involved more. Your inputs, Anish. Should I repeat it?
No. I got it. I'm just thinking. It's a very good, it's a very good question. I just wanted to know whoever asked is this. It's a very good question. So think about it like this, right? We all say we are employee first. Employee are not resources; they are our assets and everything. But are we treating them like that, right? We're only thinking about employee design when it comes to survey, not when it comes to strategy, right? So it's very important to think about employees of all. I wouldn't even say generation, right? I mean, that is another lazy way of labeling and stereotyping people, right? Okay, this is Gen Z, Gen whatever X, and all those terms. It's not like that, right? It's a basically these are life stages, right? You'll have a fresh young talent who's been in the industry for 2 years. You'll also have where he or she or they will have a different lifestyle and different way of working. the same place you will also have a 10-15 year experienced person. Or one may be married, another is not married, but one has kids, another that does not have kids. A lot of these combinations will come in, right? So it's very important to look at the data of the humans who are working for you, build that into the start itself. Don't wait for surveys to listen to what they want, because they are not going to tell you. Right? So it's very important to, we all talk about human-centered design, human-centered design. Human-centered design starts from respecting humans and thinking of them when you're building the strategy.
Oh, that's so well said, Anish. And if we are involving generally all the people in the design stage of the strategy, we don't need any surveys, we don't need any follow-ups. We have their entire
Absolutely.
energy at their disposal. Very well said, actually. The other one which has come from the audience, currently we have different systems across the employee life cycle. Are we able to synthesize information intelligently with speed for meaningful insights in real-time action? This is bombardment of
Mhm.
systems, bombardment of this survey, that survey, mailbox full. Before you make an insight, the other survey comes in, right? So over to you, Anish. You are handling it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, I know. No story of my life.
Yeah.
See, I basically, I'm currently working on a project which is still not completed, but once it's complete, of course I'll open source it. I believe in open source, so that's how I open source the people model, and whatever I do, I'll open source. But in this particular question, right? Very good question, whoever asked. I think today we have technology. Earlier also we did, but today also we have this AI technology, a lot of shiny AI tools where it helps to collect data, collect survey data and multiple other data, but those are only collection. We never think about connection, right? Connecting those data, right? That's where the decisions are led, right? We have silos of recruitment data, we have silos of onboarding data, performance data, attrition, retention, the pulse surveys, multiple other data is there, and everyone is happy collecting data, right? But I mean, what are we doing collecting all this data? By taking very myopic decisions based on some data points and trying to beat the data sheet out of the data to tell it what we want to hear, right? So that's not going to work anymore. Like you said, right, in the beginning, you were talking about the intersections, which is very important, right? You need to have all these data together and figure out the intersections, and also double click on what is not said in the organization, right? If only you have that kind of unified data architecture or data
Wow.
intelligence, you will be able to really be truthful to the word synthesizing. Otherwise,
Wow.
it's not synthesizing intelligence, it's just artificial intelligence.
Wow. Wow. That's brilliant. And can the data help us in brightening up the dark spots? Yeah. We do that sometimes, work in the psychological space on shadow, things which are relegated, subjugated, not given attention to. Can data put us in touch with the shadow of the organization? Wonderful. All right. One last from the audience, that is, with so much of personalization focused on customer experience, how much of it is seen in the employee experience space? You have answered earlier, but I'll just request you to elaborate more on that.
Sure, sure, sure. I think see, like I said, right? I think we are all, there's a lot of things, concepts called be client obsessed, be customer obsessed, and everything. I would say, for a change, be employee obsessed also, right? If you want to really create a great employee experience, stop creating policies and bringing in archaic practices in the name of best practices, which are basically old practice, and it's basically lazy behavior, right? So think, be employee obsessed, understand the context, understand the moments of the employee journey to towards, from, let's assume, I'll just use the same word, hire to retire is a frame we all understand, right? From hire to retire, what are those journey, what are those moments that matter? And can you be very obsessed to creating some consumer grade experiences for your people who are working with you, right? It can be anything, right? It can be career paths, it can be some break that they need, some life stage incidents that they have. How do we support them there? A lot of things. So if we basically do that, that's what I would call personalized employee experience. Today in the market, I see personalized employee experience as putting your first name in the email. Oh, I have 10,000 employees, but I'm sending email with everyone's first name in the first. So I'm personalizing it. That's not personalization. Okay. So don't mix up personalization with mindless automation.
Uh, Thanks, Anish. So it finally comes down to knowing each and individual person as a unique gift that he is, right? Respecting each and every person as a unique gift that person is, right? And connecting with the person in the here and now. Well, that is not hiring for the past, but hiring for the possibilities of the organization that you're looking for, actually. Great thoughts, great thoughts. And can data uh, and can the big data analytics help us in understanding better uh, at the individual level, at the work group level, and at the collective level, right? In the real time, in the here and now. Yeah. Thank you, Anish, for that. One question is there.
On the chat, we also have a question on the chat.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm just coming to that. The, the one question on the chat is with reference to the human-centric approach, how are we enabling employees to give feedback when they want to real time rather than uh, wait to be asked by HR?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Purnima. Thanks for asking it. I think it's very important, right? Again, like I said, at home, if you create an environment where everyone is open to speak, people will come naturally gravitate towards that kind of a work environment. So I would say it's a leader's job to create that kind of an environment where people don't wait for the yearly survey or some upward feedback survey or whatever it is, right? They should be able to go and talk. And please note, survey is not the only feedback mechanism. It is the cheapest and more laziest way that we have figured out to get feedback from thousands of employees, which is okay. It works. You can understand a pattern, but you will not understand the human. If you want to understand the human, the leaders or the managers should create a work environment where I, as a person, at any given point, can go at a reasonable hour, right? Not like not a 2 a.m. friend. Your manager is definitely not your 2 a.m. friend, but at a reasonable hour, go and speak by heart out, without a fear of judgment, without a fear of retribution.
Very well said. We don't need to read the patterns for the entire organization. For each one of us as leaders, if they can just engage that 7, 8, 10, 20 people that we work with and enable them to engage the entire group, we are sorted. We don't need to
Absolutely.
have that big data analytics.
Absolutely. Organization is nothing but a group of people.
Yeah.
It's a miniature classes, and I mean, whoever asked this, Purnima, I would definitely request research on. There's a concept called Dunbar number. Do research on it, and you will understand the span control. There's a big science behind it also, right? So if you understand all that, then it will be easier to develop systems to create, feedback systems that helps the question which you just asked, right? That helps employees to share candidly.
Great. So, Anish, as we are inching closer to the session closer, some rapid fire for you. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, sure, cool.
Anish, one term that is everywhere on employee experiences.
We just discussed about it, right? Personalization.
Fantastic.
So in the name of personalization, don't do vague stuff. Do actual personalization. Yeah.
Yeah. And one superpower employees should invest in.
Self-awareness, I would say, right? I mean, in the age of AI, in the age of so much noise, if you're self-aware, no one can replace you.
We began the session with that
Yes,
self-work.
yes, absolutely,
Really, it's
absolutely,
led by that coach, actually.
absolutely.
Uh, Given a choice, what would you knock off from the people vocabulary?
I know a lot of things like resources and all is there. But I would just to make a point, right? The one which I'll knock out of people vocabulary is this word called hypo. Right? High potential. I mean, what does it even mean? We are just boxing people into some 9-boxer or 6-boxer and saying this is that, that is that. But basically, it all means if the leader likes you, you're a hypo. Right? Or it's a visibility or perspective problem, right? Are we actually, limiting what basically makes a human by putting them in boxes, right? So I think that's a word which we should knock off and create better systems.
So you ask two difficult questions and your box changes actually, right? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So what would be your top 2 bold ideas in reimagining employee experiences?
I think one thing is which I discussed, right? I think everyone needs to think about HR differently, the way HR operates. One of the things is creating an employee experience operating system, which is super, super important. I think that's one idea which has not been thought across multiple in the companies globally, not only in India, globally also, no one has a clue. So number one is that I would definitely say. Number two is the concept we spoke about, right? Radical listening. More than radical candor, radical listening is very important. So how do we, do that? How do we engage and coach our managers to be radical listeners first? If they start being radical listeners, they'll definitely become better leaders.
Fantastic. Fantastic. It's a wonderful discussion, but it's now time to ask from the audience the poll. So, Sampa, over to you for the audience poll. That's very encouraging feedback for us, Anish. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great takeaways today. um, Radical listeners, map, meaning, autonomy, pleasure, uh, making managers better leaders. And Anish, I'm fully with you on that. If we are tracking that lever, that means we are sorting it out actually. You can't pour from an empty cup. I really like that. That is, unless your employees are full of excitement and energy, the other ecosystem will not be. So that authentic, credible engagement, filling their cup, filling the organization cup, and that is where you engage the larger ecosystem, the customers, the partners, flawlessly. You just take care of the lever in your control, actually. People grow, people experience creation, be employee obsessed, right? The personalization and personalization of the experiences, that is what we're talking, and perhaps that is where technology can help us. Instead of being a distraction, it can help over there to leverage the deeper technology, the inner technology, the possibility to give one-to-one attention, coaching, understanding, awareness, insights, dialoguing, all that, while other things get taken care of by the AI and other things. And ultimately, you said self-awareness and self-work is the foundation for the reimagining the experiences. So fantastic. Thank you so much, Anish. Thank you so much, Sukanya, Anurag, Purnima, Sampa. Over to you, Sukanya, for the.
Thank you, Mohit and Anish, for such a stimulating conversation. I think it's a radical conversation to really break status quo. And there's so much that, we're inspired with your own culture of map reference. So for us, a journey of dialogue continues. You all have given us a strong start. The dialogue on employee experience tomorrow, day after at 4 p.m., same time start. We're looking forward to having all of you over again. Tomorrow, we bring a very young, dynamic panel of leaders who are leading employee experience missions. So truly to listen from the ground, their perspectives. And at the end of it, audience, thank you. I mean, you all really make it worthwhile on all the effort of hosting the session live. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye till we meet again.
Thank you.